Okay, gang, this is part 2 of factoring out a GCF to solve quadratic equations. Right now, we're just factoring GCFs out of polynomials just to get some practice. We're not actually solving the equations yet. But basically, we did this first one. They're showing you a way to do it, or we're showing you a way to do it one step at a time, or you can just find the GCF and then divide it into each. Notice, guys, what we did in the very beginning is also how you can check to see if your answer is correct. If I take 35x and I distribute it back through, I should get my original question, okay? 35x times 7x is 245x squared. 35x times negative 9 is negative 315x, okay? So that's another way you can tell that you're correct, all right? Hopefully in between you were supposed to try these. Let's check to see. Here we were doing it in little parts, or you can just see that the GCF is 15, okay, by taking, 240, maybe breaking that down into 24 times 10. 24 is what? 8 times 3. 8 is 4 times 2. 4 is 2 times 2. 10 is 2 times 5, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 2 to the 4th, right? Times 3 times 5. And what was the other one? 180. 180 is 18 times 10. 10 again is 2 times 5. 18 is 9 times 2. 9 is 3 times 3. So we get 2 squared times 3 squared times 5. And then, of course, we have 45, which is 9 times 5, and 9 is 3 times 3. So anyway, once you get that all, that's all quite a mess, isn't it? But you would notice that 15, there's a 3 times 5 in every single one of these. So 15 is the greatest common factor between those. And then when I take, there is no common x because there's an x squared and x, and this one doesn't have any x. You take the smallest exponent, which is no x's. Okay, so I take 15 and I divide 15 into each term. If I take 240 divided by 15, 180 divided by 15, 45 divided by 15, I get 240 divided by 15 is 16, and of course the x squared is still there. 180 divided by 15 is 12. 45 divided by 15 is 3. Okay, and then that's how, and again, I would check, make sure I'm right. I'll take 15 times 16x squared. Oh, I get 240x squared. I take 15 times 12x, I get 180x. I take 15 times 3, I get 45. Okay, so that'll show you how to work those that way. Okay, this one is interesting, guys. The thing that's in common is an x plus 7, right? We have an x plus 7 in common, and we also have a 2 in common because 2 goes into 4 and 10. So if I take 2 and x plus 7 out of each of these, the x plus 7's cancel. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I have a 2x. 2 goes into 10 5 times, and x plus 7 would cancel. If I would multiply this through, I get 4x, x plus 7. If I take 2 times x plus 7 times 2x, right, I get 2 times 2 is 4x, x plus 7. If I take 2x plus 7 times 5, 2 times 5 is 10. X plus 7. Okay, that's the way you do those. All right, so anyway, it won't work on these, don't worry. The reason we're doing all this, guys, actually is to solve polynomial equations. Now, we learned how to solve equations back in Algebra 1, something like this, 2x minus 3 equals 1. We know we isolate the variable by doing inverse operations. So to get rid of the minus 3, I add 3. To get rid of multiplying by 2, I divide by 2. And my answer is x equals 3 halves or 1 1/2, 1.5, however you want to write it. Here, I can't isolate the variable. What am I going to do? Add 15x to the other side? I now have an x over here and an x over there. I need to isolate. I need the x by itself in one spot. Okay? So what we're going to do, since something like this, we can't use what we learned in Algebra 1 to solve by isolating the variable. What we have to do is factor. Write it as a product. Because if I have two factors that multiply up to 0, a times b equals 0, what do I know about either a or b or both? Right? A has to equal 0, or b has to equal 0, or maybe they're both 0. But one of them's got to be 0, right? If a times b equals 0, either a or b has to be 0. So we're going to take this and write it as a product. I'm going to take this, the one I was trying to solve over here, 10x squared minus 15x equals 0. I can't solve that. I'm going to factor it, what we just learned, okay? Biggest number that goes into 10 and 15 is 5. The smallest exponent between x squared and x is x. That's what I'm factoring out. Now, what's left? If I take 5x out of 10x squared, there's a 2x left, right? 5x times 2x will give me the 10x squared. Minus, if I take 5x and divide it out of 15x, the x's will cancel, but I'll have a 3 left. 5x times 3, yes, that gives me back my 15x. All right, so these both are two different ways of writing the same equation. To say 10x squared minus 15x equals 0 is the same as saying 5x times 2x minus 3 is 0. Okay? Well, I have a product now. A times b. Okay, 5x times 2x minus 3 equals 0. That means either 5x is 0 or maybe 2x minus 3 is 0. One of those is 0. Now I have two little equations to solve. I can solve both of those. If I can move my screen down. Oh well, divide by 5. 0 divided by 5 is 0. So here I get x equals 0, or add 3, like we did on the other side, divide by 2, x is 1.5. There's two answers. Not just one answer, two answers now. X might be 0, x might be 1.5. Let's check it. If I put 0 in for x, that's 10 times 0 squared minus 15 times 0. Does that equal 0? Sure does. Okay, 0 works. Let's try 1.5. Does 10 times 1.5 squared minus 15 times 1.5, does that equal 0? I don't know. I have to do that on my calculator. Let's see. 10 times 1.5 squared, that's 22.5, minus 15 times 1.5 is also 22.5. So, yep, 0. Okay, so my two answers, 1.5 or 0. There's two answers to this quadratic. All right, so let's try these by ourselves. Okay, pause me, try them, and then come back and see the answers. Okay, go ahead and pause me. All right, so now you're back. Let's see. Biggest number that goes into 8 and 12 is 4. The smallest exponent between x squared and x is x. If I take 4x out of 8x squared, I'm left with a 2x. If I take 4x out of 12x, I'm left with a 3. Let me just double check. Yeah, that's 8x squared minus 12x. Distribute. Check to see if you're right. So either 4x is 0 or 2x minus 3 is 0. So x is either 0 or, again, we get our 3/2, right? Or 1.5. Sorry, I didn't mean to get that answer twice. Biggest number that goes into 40 and 15 is 5. The smallest exponent between x squared and x cubed is x squared. What I'm left with when I take 5 out of 40 is 8. What I'm left with when I take 5x squared out of 15x cubed is a 3x, right? Let's see, that's still 40x squared plus 15x cubed, yep. So either 5x squared is 0 or 8 plus 3x is 0. So x squared is 0 when x is 0, or will this be 3x equals -8? So x equals -8/3. Those are my two answers for the middle one. -8/3 and 0. That was supposed to say equals 0 here. Sorry. I'm going to take a 2 out and an x minus 6. And then what I'm left with, if I take 2 out and x minus 6, is an x plus, I take 2 out of, and an x minus 6 out of this term, I have a 2 left. So for that to equal 0, 2 can't equal 0, can it? No. So either x minus 6 equals 0 or x plus 2 equals 0. My two answers are 6 or -2. 6 or -2. So for the first one, it was 0 or 3/2. The second one was 0 or -8/3. And the third one was +6 or -2. Okay. The homework, I'd like you to do the worksheet that's on Schoology. There's also a quizzes on Schoology. Okay, but the worksheet, I'm going to do number 4 and 14 on the front and number 2 on the back to help you out. Okay. Number 4 is very similar to what we were just doing. The biggest number that goes into 7 and 42 is 7. The smallest exponent is x cubed. Again, you can pause me and do these and try them and bring me back. If I take 7x to the third out of 7x to the fourth, there's an x left. If I take 7x to the third out of 42x to the third, there's just a 6 left. So when's that going to equal 0? Either when 7x cubed is 0 or when x plus 6 is 0. So that'll happen at 0 or -6. Those are my two answers for number 4. Number 14, I'm going to take out an x minus 6. It's the only thing in common. I'm going to be left with a 7x minus, and this is hard. When I take x minus 6 out of x minus 6, I am left with a 1. Okay, because I need something to multiply that by. There's not a 0 left. There's a 1 there. Okay, so either x minus 6 is 0 or 7x minus 1 is 0. This means x is 6 because I'll add 6 on both sides. 7x equals 1. So x is, oh, sugars. X is 1/7. Okay, and this last, on the back, they're just asking you to factor. They're not asking you to solve the equation, just factor. Okay, running out of time here, guys. So 24 is the common factor, 24x. If I take 24x out of 96x cubed, I'm left with 4x squared. 24x out of 48x squared is 2x. And 24 out of 168 is 7. And we don't have to solve it. We just stop there for those. Okay? All right. Good luck. And I'll see you in class.